It's one of the most recognizable symbols of the season, but its story goes way beyond lights and ornaments.
That's right. We're turning to historian Rafi Andonian to uncover how Christmas trees became a holiday staple and why the traditions around them still matter today. From twinkling lights to gifts underneath, the Christmas tree is at the heart of the season. Celebrity historian Rafi Andonian joins us to trace where these traditions began and how trees caught on in the United States. Hey, Rafi, thanks for joining us.
Hey, I already broke my candy cane.
You already broke your candy cane. It's going to be a great day.
Hilarious. Love it.
Traditions
Off to a
here.
great
Off to a
start.
great start. So, Rafi, how did we begin Christmas tree traditions and decorations? Talk to us about that.
Well, the notion of an evergreen, so here you have an example, right? The evergreen based on the pine, different kinds of pine tree, has gone back a long time. In the ancient world, it would mark the winter solstice. So the reason that matters is because this is evergreen, so it reminds you of the spring and the life that is to come, right? Right in the peak of the darkest day of the winter solstice. Now that translates over in the Christian world to mean, like everlasting life in the context of a Christian God. That notion kind of carries over, and you see that symbolized as well. Now, you take that and put it into the form of a Christmas tree. The paradise tree is designed to be able to portray the Garden of Eden. Think about the kinds of decorations that we put on there, often representing apples. Like think about the green and red. It comes from putting apples on there. So it really kind of makes sense, the Christian iconography here. And then the Christmas lights. Think about the original ones with the candle and the glass ball, supposed to represent the light that Jesus brought to the world. And so and to this day, we've often put a light on top of the Christmas tree, even if we have different versions of Christmas lights that we put on the tree itself. So that's how the Christmas tree kind of evolves over centuries. Now, of course, in early America, it's not something that you're going to see very often because it's something that they kind of thought was pagan and kind of an oddity. Other than a couple of little like German neighborhoods, especially in Pennsylvania, you find it in particular pockets, but not a mass spread thing that you're going to see in America until maybe the turn of the 20th century. The first couple hundred years, not really practicing Christmas trees.
So talk about when it did become popular in America, kind of what started that popularity and what they looked like.
Let's say the roaring 20s, the era of the beginning of kind of pop culture as we know it. President Calvin Coolidge in 1923 lights the national Christmas tree on the White House grounds. A huge, almost 50-foot tree, comes from his home state of Vermont. 2,500 lights on it, speaking of Christmas lights. And think about the period it's happening in. It's to show the wonders of electricity, this new technology. There's an electrical trade group that actually lobbied to do this with the push of a button to show that all the lights can come on. So it's also a promotional event, if you think about it. And so that really, that tradition begins in the White House, and I'd say it was really the start of really popularizing it nationally. Now, it's not to say it didn't happen before. There you're seeing right there, Calvin Coolidge in the White House National Christmas Tree lighting, December 24th, Christmas Eve of 1923. Now, a couple of previous presidents had done some things here and there as a trend was kind of in its beginning, in the 1880s, 1890s, for example. Benjamin Harrison did have a tree inside the White House. But it wasn't something that was consistent. It was after Coolidge that you have a consistent tree in the White House with Hoover's first lady. She made the tradition of decorating the tree inside the White House. That's become annual. And don't forget, now we have the White House ornament too. That started with Ronald Reagan. So there have been contributions since. But it starts with Coolidge, and that's when it gets really popular.
And you're talking about decorating the tree and a lot of history there, but I'm also curious where our tradition came from of putting gifts underneath the tree, which has become so iconic and a part of, very tied to the Christmas celebration.
That's right. Originally, giving gifts was on December 6th, which is St. Nicholas Day, which of course is Santa Claus. That's St. Nicholas. However, with the Protestant Reformation, with Martin Luther, who really wanted to move the church away from the Catholic sort of, they would see it as idolatry of saints, right? That's something that's not supposed to happen according to Protestants. That's a big criticism of the Catholic Church at the time. And so he tried to move gift giving on December 6th to December 25th, actual Christmas. That's when it also begins to change from being for children, because St. Nicholas is the patron saint of children,
Right.
and gifts now beginning to be given more widely beyond just children. And so, in America, again, that takes time to catch on, because that's happening, let's say, in 500 years ago in Europe, that beginning of that process. In America, originally, again, being very Protestant or
Right.
Puritan influence, they're not going to really be heavy on gifts, other than maybe some gifts to children sometimes. But then more recently, past, in the pop culture, consumer culture era,
Sure.
then we kind of join in on that as well. But that shift of giving gifts from December 6th for children on St. Nicholas to move it to Christmas is designed to make it more Christian, more in the lines and eyes of God, away from a saint. So that's how we start putting trees or gifts under trees.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for all that history.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
fascinating.
Rafi.
Something we have in our homes every year this time of year.
That's
so
right.
And
interesting.
thank
There's
you
a
for
lot
the
of history and
peppermints.
tradition captured
Yeah,
in that.
absolutely.